this Pathfinder update webinar. Unfortunately, I know it's summer library program time, but we don't often get to choose when our updates happen. So if you're new to Koha or Pathfinder, we usually have 2 updates a year, and we are updating to 1811. 06. 06 means it is June, so you can look forward to this happening in the fall, probably around November. So I'm just going to take some time today to walk you through some of the changes that will be happening with the update. I hope you've seen on the staff client side, the update will be occurring the night of June 26th after 8 o'clock. The only thing that you need to do is to, the next time that you go to your library, clear the cache of the browser that you use to operate Pathfinder. Please do this on any computer that you use that accesses the staff client side. If you don't know how to do this on our staff client, I'll show you. There's a link right here on how to clear your cache. I have linked this to instructions for Firefox as well as Chrome. And as always, we're here to help you on that the day after. So if you have any problems or you come up with any barriers to how to do this, just please let us know. We're all pretty good at it. So without further ado, I'll jump right into this. So you'll see right here, probably if you've watched any of these webinars, we now have a test server that's hosted by Bywater. And this is really great because I'm able to show you the things that are going to be happening with the update without just alluding to them. I can really demonstrate them. There's 2 tabs. We have the staff client. We also have a server or a demo site for the OPAC, which is pretty cool. So the first thing I want to show you are some of the new things for the OPAC. So Koha is represented in green across all of the Bywater documents. So they decided that would be a cool thing to go ahead and add that to all the OPACs. So if I want to change the color to white or something like that, I can certainly do that. They've also will be updating some of the blocks or the buttons with a little bit more rounded appearance. You'll notice ours isn't probably going to change too much because we've done a lot of work on ours to get it really going. To make it look better for our patrons and a lot more user-friendly. I will be moving this hoopla. I think we've had enough exposure to it, but I'm not quite sure because the last count we had just less than 700 users accessing it. So I might leave it there. So if you have any thoughts on that, please let me know and I'll be happy to leave that on there. So one of the other things that we've done, I know that we've talked with the fact that now patrons, when they get a new card, will be asked to opt in if they wish to have us save their circ history. One of the other parts with patron privacy, along with circ history, you know, that's a patron-driven decision, is informing our patrons what we're doing in the way of protecting their privacy. So I'm going to show you an example of our new GDPR statement, which is the General Data Protection Regulation that has been instituted in the European Union. The United States is probably not that far in following the privacy notification rules. So Bywater, along with, because Koha is an open source ILS used across the world, Bywater decided it might be a good idea if we went ahead and added this functionality. So let me show you what happens. I'm going to go over here and find my fake patron. And this will be the first time fake patron has logged into the OPAC. So there they are. And I'm going to go ahead. Their username is their card number. So we're going to go ahead and go back over here. I'm going to log them in. And when fake patron goes in the first time, they're going to see this block. Now, this is a one-time thing. They'll have the option of, they can just say, yes, I agree, which a lot of us do when we are going through a lot of this in our personal lives on a lot of the websites that we visit. They can agree or do not agree, and please remove my cat within a reasonable time, and that message will be sent back to CKLS. So if they also want to read the privacy policy, and I will also tell you that there is a tab in the Pathfinder LibGuide that I created that tells you all about this. So if you want to know more about GDPR, please go to that site. I'm not going to go over that today, but you can learn about it and you can read these documents. So it's linked right here to the policy. It talks very clearly about the expectations that our patrons and users will have with regard to their privacy. If they don't know what personal identifiable information is, I also have that linked. And you'll see right there, we're talking name, address, email, all those items that identify our patrons. This policy was approved by the executive board at Spring Fling. So I got to give them a lot of credit for wanting to implement that. So, oh, there she is. So I'm going to go ahead and just accept that, and we'll save, and I hope it, there we go. Well, of course, a glitch. Let me refresh here. Okay, well, I'm not sure why it's working, but it's a test server, so I'm going to go ahead and just get out of that one. I think it's obviously saved because it has moved me on. So one of the things that we're going to see about fake patron here is when we get into her summary or his summary is there's a lot of information across the top here. Please note that this person has fines or in excess of $34.98. And she won't be able to renew books online because of its excess. It has exceeded our system limit. So while we're at it, that kind of jumps into some other things. So I'm going to skip on to just talking about what a patron's going to be able to see on this side. So let's go ahead and log fake patron out, and I'll go ahead and log in as me. And I have a few holds that I've placed. So in my own summary or other patrons that log in, they'll be able to see the priority. Now, and I haven't quite figured this out yet because I've been comparing it across the board. They can see this. I think there's some functionality and maybe I'm missing in translation, but they'll be able to then go ahead and do the things that they need to do with their holds. Say they're going on vacation, they can suspend, they can cancel. They can cancel as long as the hold is not en route. If it's been shipped, they cannot do that because that would certainly cause a lot of problem. If they wanted to change the priority of the holds, they still will need to contact the local librarian, and the librarian can then go in on the staff client side and reorganize the priority of the holds. Another really nice thing, let's go ahead and look into my summary. And let's say I'm going to go in here and I want to find some other books. Maybe I like Sense and Sensibility. I want to see what other options there are because I've got the DVD on hold. And I want to get the book. One thing that's been added to the facets over here on the OPAC side are the collection codes. And so that's new, and I think that's going to be really helpful if people really want to narrow down their choices. Let's say they just want in fiction, which we all equate that with books, or they just want to only look at the movies or TV series, they'll be able to use those. So if you don't, I think we do require collection code to be populated, but this is another place where our patrons are going to be able to find things narrower, and the searching will be a little bit more robust for them. The list feature that I think Kathy Ripple talked to me about a while ago, she asked me, why can't we sort this by date added? Well, now we can. So if you go, I created a couple lists. So here I created this list today, and it's a private list, but if I went in and wanted to see if when I put those things on the list, now today is, since I added them all today, it's not the best illustration of that. You used to be able to sort it by everything but the date. So now you can do that by date, and you can switch it to descending or ascending. And this works on both the staff client side and on the patron side. So that's really nice to be able to do that. You can print your lists, you can edit the list, and you can download the list. One of the ways I've talked to Bywater about the downloading part, I wish they would just have a spreadsheet, and I'm not sure the formats right now really are not, patrons won't understand this format, and I don't think a lot of our librarians would use those. I asked if they could maybe possibly think of just adding a spreadsheet format, so they're thinking about doing that. you maybe have heard me talk about this before, but if you go into your summary across the top, you'll see the holds, the overdrive account, recorded books, and cloud library. They're working very hard to have our patrons be able to access all these different e-formats right through Pathfinder. Cloud library is a work in progress. Since our patrons access these things through the state library with a library card that's unique in number, we're trying to figure out a way that we can actually authenticate straight through here without some of the problems that are happening. But I'll just go ahead and show you what it will look like. So in theory, these are the couple of things that I went in and I checked out through cloud. I've got holds, these are checkouts, Crazy Rich Asians, etc. is something that I thought I checked out, but right now, until we get this straightened out about how everything's authenticated, when I click on Crazy Rich Asians, it takes me to the state site, and it'll give me the book details, and it's going to ask me to log in. And this is when your patrons would need to use their library card from the state and enter in through here. So right now, you see it tells me to log in. And library ID, PIN and password. I can go ahead and show you how that looks. And hopefully we'll have this a little bit more streamlined once we get, what the idea is that Bywater will set this up so when your patrons enter their card, their information screen, they'll be able to put their Kansas State Library card in their password and PIN for that right into Koha. And so these two things will authenticate a little bit, it'll be a little more seamless. So let me go in here and find that. So, and if those of you that don't know how to get Kansas State Library cards, please let us know. We'll help you do that. It's pretty simple. So I go ahead and log in, and I agree. And this is just some things that we're trying to avoid. But right there, it has me logged in. And if you go to the My Books tab, I don't have anything borrowed, and it'll show me my holds. So this is, hopefully we can skip some steps here, but in the meantime, it is kind of a nice feature. And if I do put these holds, these things are actually on hold on my app on my phone, so I know that it is working.
We do have one comment from the chat, and Kathy from Bison is saying, yay! So I think she's looking forward to making the ebook lending or digital lending a lot easier.
Yeah, and right now, I don't know if you've tried, RB Digital works very much the same way. RB Digital, your patrons have to set up an account similar to Hoopla, but don't let those things stop promoting these. The state is really excited that we have this authentication, interoperability, integration working through our OPAC right to their database. So they're pretty excited about it, and I am too. As a user of all these things, I'm really excited about that. Okay, so we'll get out of here. Okay, moving over to the staff client. I'm gonna get out of this here. There is a system preference that we've always had in place that has allowed us to hide items from not only the OPAC, but elsewhere. So I can go ahead then, and let's say I wanted to make a certain patron type, like adult, or say for instance our staff patrons, to be able to access those items and not hide them. I can go ahead and put those in a system preference. So let's say during the summer we have hidden all the schools collection from everyone, so the patrons don't try to put holds on them and what have you. I can actually add staff, those with staff privileges, or sorry, a staff patron category, and we can go ahead and see those items. So that's just another layer of us being able to access things a little bit more clean. On the staff client, we'll go ahead and just use patron or fake patron here. Some things that have been added to make your lives easier. Let's say I was dealing with fake patron and we're trying to reconcile this issue of these charges. And I had Willie Sheppard come in, and Willie's kind of in a hurry and he needs me to help him with something, and I can help him go ahead and look at his checkouts and we'll see what he's got. And oh yeah, you do have that birding book checked out, so please make sure you bring it back. And then all of a sudden I need to go back and do fake patron. Instead of having to go in and search for the patron, there's a button up here that was added and I can go right back to fake patron. We have the capability, and I want you to see this, to hide the patron information right from the screen. So if you're in a library where your monitor is facing where your patrons can see, I think this is going to be really helpful. It hides all the pertinent, the personally identifiable information about the patron. However, don't be afraid of, or think, how am I going to know, or where do I, what are the details that I need to be aware of that I can't see? In the detail screen, you can still see it. So, it is something I think that I like to keep on, and we'll just see how it works. I don't think it's going to be a huge barrier to you guys seeing the details about your patrons, but I do think it's one more thing. I've been in countless libraries, and due to the layout of the library, your monitor is facing everybody, and everybody that walks up can see every piece of information about Willie or fake patron. And so I do like this feature. It's really I think it's good for our patrons. Another thing that they've added is this updated on button, or date rather. So today I went in,
Margie, could you make your screen a little bit bigger, please? Your window? Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So I can then see that it was the date that I last updated information about this patron. So today I went in and did something with fake patron, and I would know, yeah, that was the most current time that the account had been addressed. They also have added the renewal date. So you can see that this account was renewed on June 14th. We don't have, it also talks about the privacy preferences. So right now it's set to the default, which is kind of, I think if I recall, our default settings at a certain point, some of the records are wiped out, like maybe 5 or 6 years. It's not a narrow window of time, but whatsoever. But the other choices are your circulation history is kept forever, or it's default, or it's never. So if fake patron had gone on and chose never, that would show up here. Language preferences for the notices. We do have the ability right now to have notices in Spanish. I do have a resource person who is more than happy to translate those. So if you would like to have some of your notices available to your patrons in Spanish, let me know. The patron can, on the OPAC side, choose the language in which they'd like to receive those messages. So please send me an email sometime, and we can do that for you.
Margie, we do have a couple questions in chat.
Okay.
One asks, where did she click to go back? It was so fast. And I believe that's from the Patron account. On the top right corner, it'll say last patron.
Oh, sure. Hold on. It's little, I gotta move your box here. If you go to the, let's see, I'm working in the, so let's see. I was in Willie, so we'll go back to where I was with Willie Sheppard. It's right up here on the right, at the far right side. It'll say last patron.
And that's only when you're searching in patron.
Right, when I'm working in a patron account.
Okay. And the second question is, can the hide the details feature be done different ways on different staff computers? Is it?
No, it's a universal system preference.
Okay.
So it's either all or nothing. So sorry. Yeah, I know
that's the way that works.
Some of these things.
Yep.
Okay, so moving along, we also have the ability to send email receipts. So for instance, if you have an account where a patron comes in and pays a fine or a fee, or let's say charged against their account is something for a lost item, and they bring that back and you check it in, I'll show you what happens, but we can send an email receipt right to the patron to tell them that their account's been updated. So I'm going to go back to my last patron. I'll demonstrate that, and it's fake patron. So let's go ahead and talk about fines. We know we don't charge the daily fines or the overdues like a lot of libraries that use Koha. So, but they spend a lot of time taking this part of the functionality into consideration. And we do some of this. There are still libraries that do charge that. Plus, we oftentimes charge for lost material. So, and the first thing that's going to pop up is the pay fines. And we'll see that fake patron had the lost item refund of because they lost Crazy Rich Asians. And there was a lost item refund that was reversed. And then they have the lost item surviving a zombie attack. So they've got some charges against them. So we're going right to the account screen. It'll give you a very detailed description about what is going on with this account. So we'll see that back in April, they had a lost fee refund of double plum. So that left them with an outstanding. And there was a credit returned right here. That was the credit for this item that offset that. So let's say that you didn't really want that to be credited to this person. There were some other circumstances. It used to be that you had to reverse it, which was kind of clumsy. Now you can void the refund, which is what I did with this Crazy Rich Asians to show you what happened. So the item was lost. Crazy Rich Asians was returned, so they had an offsetting fee, and I went ahead and voided it because there were others. It was damaged when they brought it back, so they still need to pay for it. That would be a circumstance. So they still had that outstanding. And so here is surviving the zombie attack, and it's from Hoisington, and it was lost. So what would happen then if I went ahead and checked this in? It's going to tell me to return it to Hoisington, and the item was lost and now found. The refund has been applied. Local use recorded and not checked out. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. So I'm sorry that that's not easier for you to see, but I can't control that. So let's go back then and look at fake patron. And here's that nice button. So we can look at their fines and see what happens. And it's been removed from the descriptions. And you can see now that by virtue of checking that in, it applied a credit. Now, if it was damaged and it needed some attention and you wanted to take that away, you could just void it. And it would go ahead. You want to void this credit, you can make the decision or not. So it offsets it. Now you still have the ability to do manual invoices and manual credits. So let's say, the details button would tell me more about what happened with that particular transaction. So at 12, after the credit was applied, and then a minute later we voided the payment. So there's a lot more information in the fines for those of you that work with this. I think you'll find that you can get a lot of information out of this screen in the staff client under patrons. Okay, we talked about hiding personal detail. All right, checkout notes. So I'm going to go over here and we'll go up onto the landing page here for Koha. Okay, so right down here, there's always this checkout notes, and this has been kind of clunky. I've had librarians call me about, I got this email or I got this message and I don't know how to use it. Well, they've Bywater responded to that. So you can click on this, and I'll just show you what the note is, and I'll show you where the note was generated. So Margie Sheppard put a note that this DVD did not play. So, you can, if you know that patron is your patron, then you can go ahead and see what was going on with the note. So patrons can go ahead and set these notes in they're on the OPAC side. So here is my checked out item, Sense and Sensibility. I reported the problem. This DVD did not play. So when this video gets returned, if you see the note ahead of time, you can go ahead and acknowledge the note here, mark as seen, and it will disappear. Or when I check it in, the note will pop up at the circulation desk and then will disappear. So there's two different ways of getting information about the materials or the condition of the materials. And this is created to report problems. So if there's excessive marking in the book, or if it's torn pages or what have you, it's not to do it's not for giving a review of the book. And like, we don't want to see, I didn't like it, but we can't control what people say, but that's the point of this. So I think it'll be a little bit easier for librarians to figure out. All right, so moving on to cataloging. There's some exciting things for the cataloging. I like being a cataloger. I do like this stuff. Some of you may find it boring, but there's a new system preference that we will be using that will tell us who created a new record and if someone modified it. And I'm going to be setting that up in the MARC templates for in a field that probably it's a local field. But that'll be helpful for us here at CKLS if we've got some records that maybe, so for instance, let's say we have a Blu-ray DVD combo pack that was brought in and possibly it had some problems. I'd be able to go back and tell who brought it in and who modified it, so I can help people make better decisions when they're cataloging. It will track the ID, it will match your patron ID and your name. So this is when it's really important. I know some libraries share accounts. If you have someone cataloging, it's very important that you create a staff account for them and they have cataloging permissions, or this is not going to help us make better catalogers. If we have 10 people using the same staff logging account, and I know that's an exaggeration, it's not going to work. So please create your own accounts for your staff members, especially those that are cataloging and doing things that impact everybody that uses Koha. All right, one of the other things we'll be able to track is patron activity. That's pretty nice in terms of statistics, and this is patron activity when they log into the OPAC, and it's just that they log in. It's not their search history or anything, it's just that they've accessed it. It will also be able to track statistics of how many people through the OPAC use things that are connected by a SIP connection. So that would be Overdrive, RB Digital, and Cloud Library. Okay, so one of the other really kind of cool things that I hope you guys will take advantage of is they have added the ability to create charts for some of your reports. So let's see, I'm going to use as an example. Now, while it's fun to have a test server, it doesn't always give me as much data as would give you a good picture, but we'll go ahead and run this one. I think this works. So we're going to go ahead and make a chart for checkout and renewal by patron category and collection. So I'm just going to go back, maybe just go back to January 1st, and we'll go to today and see what's been going on here at CKLS. Right, so now you can see this isn't really totally accurate, but for creating a chart, it works. So you have the options of picking a pie chart. You can choose a bar or a line graph. And depending on what you're trying to represent, pick the chart that most accurately matches what you're trying to do. So here we came up with a really colorful chart. And while this may seem like, well, why would I want to do this? There's a lot of people out there that on your board especially, or people if you're teaching maybe your city council about how important your library is and user statistics, this kind of data represents something much better than this, or you writing it down on a piece of paper and handing it to them or giving them a spreadsheet. So I really like this, and there's a couple of things you can do. You can download it into a chart SVG, and then there's a converter that you can use to create a PDF, and it's called Zamzar. And I can, let's see, maybe Mary Beth, if you can maybe look that up and post a link to that.
Okay.
Okay, and or you can just do a simple screenshot of this, and it's an easy way then to just visually show your board just some really good data-driven information. And it, I think the more I get used to it, I can help you and maybe do some little bit more information about it. And it will probably try to have some reports that really lend themselves to using this feature. But I think it's a pretty nice thing, because right now you'd have to take it, put it into another, if you use, I don't know, Google or maybe some sort of Word to create your charts, and this is easy. In the circulation and fine rules, moving along, we'll be able to add notes to your circ and fine rules to define them a little better. So if we're talking about that and you want to give us more information about that, something that we can do on our end. Oh, I think someone maybe asked me about holds. Might have been Joanna at Smith Center. So we have a global limit of 50 holds per patron category. Now, if you would like to limit those by patron category, you can do that. So let's say you really want the kids that are in the juvenile patron category to only place 10 holds. If that's something you want to do, we can do that now by patron category and just not globally. Okay. The other thing that we can do on our end, so staff permissions are always a little bit hard to manage, because most of them, it's hard for us to even know what they do. But they have added a lot more granularity, meaning if you have someone working behind the circ desk and you need them to do maybe one item of circulation, but not everything, we can now more cherry pick it and make it more personalized for the staff that you have. So let me know, or Mary Beth know, or whatever, probably me first, then Mary Beth, how you want that changed, and we can talk about that. That's pretty much what this update will do. It's not a huge update in terms of what our librarians will use. So a few things for our OPAC users, a little bit more work on the backside for us, but I think all of those things that we're going to do will be welcome. So are there any other questions? Or
I don't see any in the chat yet, but I'm going to give them some time. So to create that chart, you first have to run the report.
Right.
And then there'll be a create chart button over there on the top bar.
Yeah, I can back up here.
Okay.
Let's just go to Sage Reports. So here we are in the checkout renewal by patron category. So we're going to go ahead and run the report. And you can choose your library. I think it'll work this way. And then you set your parameters. And then you run it. See, and it didn't work for them, but
it's because we haven't, it's on the test server. So
yeah, it's on the test. So here's your create a chart.
Okay.
So right here, you have the option then of creating your chart. So you click on that and you pick your type, and you can pick your XY axis. So the X is the vertical, and then the Y, you can change these around if you want to you can change your axis to reflect what you're trying to, what the table or the chart.
So if you wanted it to be more, instead of by category code, if you wanted it to be by collection, then you could change it to collection.
Right.
Okay.
In the X, so, and you could do a bar. So, and then if you don't want all this information, you can get rid of the columns.
Okay.
We'll see what, but yeah, so that's kind of, and remember, I'm working with a data set that's not very good, but it gives you the idea of what you can do. There's a report that Bywater has that I think we may try to utilize because it runs by circulation by genre, and this is what is entered in the 655 field on the record. So that would be, if you listen to my talk on cataloging or came to the cataloging workshop, we talked about authorized subject headings and authorized headings in general. And so this would be data pulled from the record that's imported.
So then if we wanted to know how well our Westerns or our mysteries are checking out, this report would be able to show us that.
Right, so I will be adding that one. Oh, another thing that'll be, probably should talk about that.
Excuse me, Margie?
Yes.
This is Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
With the charts, can we download just that chart or?
Yeah, so in the download, I'll show you what happens to, let me go to the pie. The pie's better. Yeah. So you choose the pie and draw it, and then up here you download and you choose chart S.
Oh,
yeah. So you save that, and then if your browser, if you're able to convert SVG data files into, say, PDFs, you can go ahead and do that. But I found this really, I'll go ahead and bring it up.
I think I have a link in the chat.
It's called Zamzar, because it's this Zamzar converter. So if you take the file and pop it in there, then choose your format and then convert it. You can see it's working. And then you download it. And there it is. So then you can then take that and combine it with other information that you want.
So it looks, yeah, and it looked like you could change it to a JPEG too.
Yeah, you can.
As well.
Whichever format you prefer.
And then there's also the clip tool that you talked about where you could do a screenshot or a clip. If you have a clip tool on your computer, you could do it that way as well. So there's several different options.
Right. It just depends on which, what you're more comfortable with. So yeah, I think it'll be, I don't know. I think visual people I think it's prettier to show your board a colorful chart than, I don't know, just a bunch of numbers.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so, the Z3950, that's kind of going to have a little change. Right now, when you go into cataloging, you import a record new from Z39. I'll demonstrate with the book I have here. I'm going to be adding, and I probably would ask your input what you'd like to see. So when we click on this now, you get your mark preview. We'll have another column that will actually target more information. So the 100 field, so we could do the 100, which would be the author, would be more, so what it'll basically tell you is that this record has 100 fields, it's got a 245, and it's got, say, all the RDA components, the 336, 337, 338. And so that way you will know that you're picking a record that really matches up what our goal is for the catalog. And that's simply, and I don't want to add too many because then it makes your choices really long.
So that's going to be in the columns?
It'll be an extra column.
Okay.
So it'll be over here by the action.
Okay.
It'll clearly tell you that, yes, this record has the attributes that you're looking for. So instead of you having to go through in the actions and look at all of them and preview it, it'll just have a listing right away. So make your cataloging a little easier. So that's kind of what's coming up with this next update. So anyway, I don't mean to
okay. If anybody has any more questions, please get those in the chat, or you can unmute your microphone and just ask your question over the microphone. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, we will go ahead and archive this so people can look at it later. And
Yes.
On the 27th, if you have any questions or you're not sure about your cache, please let us know. We'll help you get through that.
Margie,
Yes.
this is Joanna.
Uh-huh.
Would you please go back to the screen where where it shows the details that are hidden?
Yes.
It
So,
was so small I couldn't see
Oh.
what wasn't showing anymore.
Yeah, maybe zoom in. If you can zoom your screen in a little bit, Margie, maybe
yeah.
that'll help show it a little bit.
Sorry. I always struggle with that. Where is it, Mary Beth?
Just go to View
Oh,
on your
here
Chrome
it is.
menu
There
bar.
it is.
Yep.
Zoom in. Let me get it. Okay, is that better?
Yes, it's a lot better.
Okay, right.
Okay, get into a
Yeah, I will.
go into a patron account so I can see what doesn't show anymore.
All right. What doesn't show is their address, phone number, email address, but it shows here. So for instance, if you are generally what pops up is this. This is going to be what is sitting there on the screen as you first log in. So
Okay, right now, okay, just stop, just a minute.
okay.
See the box that says show checkouts right where your mouse
Uh-huh.
is?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can override that and say always show checkouts.
Right.
Can we override the details on our computers? Like
To always show it?
to always show it or always show it once a day? I mean,
Not
or is
that
it
no.
always gone?
No.
Because
not.
we have patrons with the same name, and without seeing the address, you don't know which patron you're checking out to.
So the answer is no. So if the vast majority would like to not hide this information, I have no problem with that. I can turn it off.
Because that's how we confirm, you know, we can look and say, you know, if we don't think that address looks right, like we know they've moved and we're in a small enough town, we know when people have moved for the most part, we can immediately, when we see that, we can go, okay, we've got the wrong address for this person, we need to get a new one. But with that hidden, we're going to have to
You'd have to click on details.
click on every patron to make sure you had it right.
You would. Uh-huh. I mean,
This would be a feature that would have to be turned on or turned off.
Yeah,
but
it's global.
It's global, yeah.
Okay.
So it's
I was-
system-wide.
I was thinking maybe there was a way to override it like that, always show the patron checkouts. Or
Not yet. I mean, if we were all operating as independently, had our own Kohas, yes. But so it's just, so maybe we should do this. We'll give it a try for a month, and if it causes a lot of problem, we can decide.
Turn it off
But
again.
I'm worried more about the libraries so your screen is, people don't have access to it, but I can think of right off the top of my head about 5 libraries right now that's not the case. And
even their staff computers, the patrons can see?
yeah, they can. And it's just logistically the way the library's laid out. So, yeah. I mean, or the other thing that Mary Beth and I have talked about is, wouldn't it be nice if our libraries that did do that got a screen? So you know how you have to be right in front of the screen instead of the side view to see the
Yeah, it's like a privacy,
like a privacy
panel that you put
screen.
over your monitor.
That'd be really nice, so that the rest of us aren't paying for the fact they don't have a private.
Well, I don't want this to be a penalty. So if it's viewed that way, then that's not how it's intended. I mean, we're just here trying to protect people's privacy. So because I don't really think it's nice. I don't really like that people can come in and see where I live. I mean, I don't want them to see my address or.
Yeah, I can understand that. Because see, I have one computer that I sit with my back patrons, and if they have really good eyesight, yes, they can read it. But that's not normally the computer I check out on.
Right.
The one that the staff are using, the patrons can't see that screen. I just thought, well, if I can just turn off that one monitor from showing the details, then we always see them for the most part when we're checking out, but not when I'm just looking at something.
Yeah, I do. It's one of these things, and it's like when we had we had the Well, the one that your patrons already checked this out, you know, it slowed everything down, and we ended up turning that one off because people that had lots of checkouts, they had to acknowledge it every time.
That was a pain,
Yeah, so we turned it off. But we'll see. I mean, we can give it a try, and if it causes a lot of problem, and maybe those libraries that we know for logistics have a problem with their screen, we can work with them to get a privacy screen. So I'm reasonable about that one. Anyway, I just wanted you to see it so you knew that it was an option. So
is it something down the line that maybe Koha could make that little checkbox that you just say, turn it off?
I'll put that out there. I'll suggest that.
Because we have that option on show me the checkouts.
Yep, you're right. So
and that way each library computer to computer can make that decision. Because if you're sitting in an office somewhere where nobody sees your computer anyway, what difference does it make?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that works by just computer. Do you know, Mary Beth? If I set that show, and because that's once you set that, it shows all day. Does that unique?
Yeah, it's by that computer, that login.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll ask that question because there are things that I know about Bywater that they don't think about because they're not using it. So that might be something they could easily do. So
because that just seems like, well, that would give each one of us the opportunity, you know, on that specific computer. Because I know if we check that show checkouts on the circulation desk, my personal computer that I use all day doesn't show it unless I turn it on.
Yeah, that's a
If
good
they could
point.
make it that way, then you could do it from computer to computer.
Yep, I'll put that out there because they're always looking for ways to improve things. So
okay, I think that's all I wanted to know.
okay, good.
All right, thank you.
I do see one more question. Can you not put a picture of the patron on so you know if you are checking out the correct one?
Yeah, you can. I mean,
you can. Each library would have to do that. It requires a digital camera that you can connect to your computer, and then you have to manually upload each picture, which is why a lot of libraries have not opted to do it that way.
However, I actually did it with my phone. Like I took a picture, you don't see it with this one, but my cat on the live side, I have it. I just took a picture of it and uploaded it by my phone. So, yeah.
So, okay, so it's a lot easier than it was. You just,
they've improved that. So I'll just show you if I go in here and log in and show you his actual account. Because it's hard to, so I did that by taking the picture. I don't know if I emailed it to myself and uploaded it. I think that's the way I did it, but yeah. So you can see on the production side, Joanna, we haven't changed anything. So anyway, so that it is easier. So if I think I actually have a tutorial on how to do the picture.
Yeah, I think there's a tutorial somewhere. Yeah. See if I can find it.
Yep.
All right, I don't see any more questions in the chat. If you do have something and you're just furiously trying to type and you need us to give you more time, raise your hand or something in the participants screen, and I'll make sure that we save some time for you.
Well, and I wonder with all of these things that people can do now with the OPAC, if it wouldn't be helpful if we made just a card or something that you would hand your patrons on how to access it, because so many things there's so many things that they can do themselves, and I think a lot of people appreciate that, checking their holds, looking at what's in the catalog, and once they're able to search and download all these digital resources, it's really great. And if you think they don't know how to do it, they really do know how to do it.
And it's not limited to certain age groups that can and can't do it, because there's seniors that know how to check their online baking information, so I think anybody can learn if they have the desire to do that. So I've seen in the chat that there's several people saying, yes, let's get some kind of handout to show them how to log into the catalog.
Maybe we'll find something that's laminated, that's not just a piece of paper. I'd like it something credit card side, or I don't know, we'll brainstorm with that, because
we'll play with it and see what we can
do.
get.
It's something that the more enhancements that we do to the OPAC, the more I want them to be using it. So, and it'll help you. You don't think, I think for the librarians, it'll really, really be helpful for them. There is one other thing that they can do, but I hesitate to even bring it up because I just think it would be a problem, but maybe later on down the road, a patron can actually set their own location for picking up holds. But right now, I don't think we're ready for that. I think that's something that's nice, and I don't know if we could set it up with groups. So if we had a cluster of libraries that were close, but it's something that you think about your patrons and how it would work for them if they're in close proximity to 3 other libraries. Would it be easier to place a hold and go over and have it delivered to, let's say I work in Smith Center, but I live in Kensington, and it would work out for me to go pick it up there. Would that be something we would want them to be able to do? But that's certainly a librarian decision and not one I'm gonna make.
Margie?
Yeah.
This is Kathy.
Yeah.
And we do have a number of patrons that use both Bison and both Barnard.
Yeah, so it would help them.
Where they work and where they live. And so sometimes they do pick that with me.
Right.
But
yeah.
And myself, if I'm not going to be in Bison, especially in the future, Hoisington or Great Bend are both fairly close to me.
Right. So I think that's something we should maybe talk about again. And I think it's a good idea, but again, Kathy brought up some really good points. We have a lot of our people are really mobile. I mean, they work they work different places where they, than where they live, and we want to encourage them to use all the great things we have. So
there is a follow-up question. Doesn't that mean the patron abides by the checkout rules, limits, and time frame based upon the library they choose as a pickup site? So yes, wherever you check out materials from, that's the rules that it's checked out for. So just know, even though your Otis is your home library and you check out at Bison, wherever you check out from is the circulation rules you're following.
Right, but you could also then go in and renew it if you had access to the OPAC.
Right. So. Yeah. Good point.
A lot of good things. So. Okay, well, I will work on a card and maybe help Mary Beth and a couple other people that are creative spirits around here. We can find something to give your patrons.
Yeah,
so
we'll do some testing.
Right. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody.